Okay, so we have this is going to be, let's go through the little tutorial thing. It's pretty simple, particularly if you've done databases before. I didn't get into too much here. What I did want to point out is that there's a couple of different things you need to do to install it. If you're on Ubuntu, right, you should be able to get it going just like this. And if you're on something else like Windows or OS X, they do have instructions for installing MongoDB there. You should be able to get it installed using one of these methods, whether you're on a Linux box, on OS X, or if you are on Linux, OS X, or Windows. Okay, so they have all of these here, and that should give you a native install. I didn't use this one this time. Right, here's Ubuntu. These are different Linux servers. They have Mac OS X. Right, they actually have install on Amazon. And they have Windows as well. Okay, so all of these options are available. There are other options that are available as well. And I didn't do any of these this time. Before, prior years, I've used the Ubuntu one. But I think, with no proof, that a lot of you are using WSL. So I am trying to use WSL. To install it on WSL looks like this works, right? And if you go to this link, there's another link there that explains how to do this. These were the only commands that were in there. The problem was, to get to this point, I went through a number of other ways, including installing the Linux one from MongoDB on my own system. I'm not sure how much I did there helped or hindered this installation. This seemed to work. Check out the link and try it out if you want to install it on WSL. I think it works. But I did enough other stuff in the middle there that I am not completely sure. And the difference is they install different versions of the software. This install, the Ubuntu, the installation from MongoDB installs 4.4. This installs 3.6.8. 3.6.8 may in fact be the open source version. And the reason that this works may be because this is going back in time far enough that we get past the open source issue. That's why this install is a lot more complicated. It's because you're forced to get Mongo from Mongo itself, as opposed to from the standard repos of Linux. So when I am working today and working in all of the labs, I did using version 3.6.8. Actually, let's just do a quick MongoDB check on something. If we go up to MongoDB, they do have all of their versions tagged. Let's look at what the 3.6.8 tag is. I don't know why it does that. Yeah. This is October 24th, 2019. So that's a year after the that tag was made, a year after. I don't know. We'd have to look into this as well. Sorry about that. It was a little something that got my curiosity going that I should have looked at ahead of time. Anyway, we'd have to investigate that a little bit more. Why 368 is the one. You can also, by the way, I didn't test this, but you should, now that you're experts in Docker, you should be able to use this YAML file to set up a Docker install of MongoDB. And again, there's a link that tells you how to do it. One of these ought to work. I think the second one, right here, here's a running MongoDB as a Docker container. I think your Docker actually ran this, by the way, ran something similar, and you can use that to, right? You should have done that as part of setting up one of your Docker containers. Was you should have run a Docker, a MongoDB database to store the tags, at least, if not some of the other ones. All right. Anyway, this is what I'm using, I think. Modulo a few extra tries that didn't quite work. So anyway, let's get started. The first thing you have to do, this is going to be in two parts. The first thing is you have to set up a database server. Okay, so we'll set up our database server. And do I not have another window open? Nope, let's open another window too. So we'll start by setting up our database server. I have a directory I'm going to use called database. Once you have MongoDB installed, you can do something as simple as do MongoD for MongoDaemon, and then set up the DB path to be your database directory. It has a default if you don't use that, but you may, and I just want to do this as sudo. And it'll come up and throw up some stuff and tell us things are going on. So that's our database running. We now want to connect to it. I'm using the default ports, so it's just as simple as doing Mongo. And it logs in with shell version 3.68. It gives us a bunch of other stuff going on. The important thing to note is that when we do this, we get this network connection client metadata. So this is our connection coming in. Right, so we've now connected to our database server, and so now we have a database interface running in our second window. MongoDB doesn't actually require a whole lot to get set up because it is a non-SQL server, and it does offer some help things. So we can come in here, we can say db.help and get some help. Right, it tells us the stuff that we actually have. And we can look at things like stats. Right, it tells us just what's going on in our database, and I think I've emptied out this database pretty close. We do have a test database still here. And we can do there we go. There we go. So we can look at the databases we have here. You can see that I actually did your lab. So there's one of the databases I have in this system. If you want to use, each one of these is a database. If you want to use a new database, you can just say use new database, where new database is the name of whatever you want to use. And now we are using, we're using new database. And we can look at it, right? That's what we're using. We can show all of the databases. We can see that new database isn't in there yet because it is empty. But if we insert something, like let's insert a movie, and then we look at it, we actually have a new database in there. It has something, it has this movie with a movie name in it and nothing else. Right? This is our database. This is our collection movie. So our database is new database, or DB. Our collection is movie. And then we have documents in it. And one of our documents has the name, has a single field with the name tutorials point. And we can do something like show collections. What I can't get used to with MongoDB is how some of these have, some of these are commands like show connections that are commands directly to the database, and others are commands defined on specific parts of the database, like on collections. So when we want to get rid of our movie collection, we want to do db.movie.drop, right, instead of drop db movie. And now our collections are empty again, right? So we just went through and we created a collection and then looked to see that, in fact, the collection was there, and then deleted the collection by dropping, essentially this would be dropping the table and then showing that it was gone. All right, so that was all pretty innocuous and boring. We can insert things that are a little bit more interesting. So let's insert a couple of records. Our first record will be, we're going to, instead of doing movies, we're going to do blog posts now. So we'll come in here and we'll insert one. That's a MongoDB overview. And we'll insert another one that's about a NoSQL database. We'll just insert those all at the same time, right? So we're doing an insert. Instead of inserting into the movie collection, we're going to insert into the posts collection, right? The posts collection might be where you would do stuff that you posted online, such as blog posts. Okay, and now having done that, we can do show collections again, and we'll see that we have a post collection in there because we put something in. And we can let's look at some stats for the post collection. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot out of here. Right, but we can come in here, and if we page all the way up to the top and don't worry about the B tree and the block and everything like that, all the way up, we can see that we have 564 bytes in our collection. This is our collection name, new database.posts. We have two entries, two documents in it. The average object size is 282, i.e. 564 divided by 2. So we have some information in there about it. We can look at our stats. We could look at more stats if we were really interested, or if we had an indexing problem or something else going on. But we can kind of see some of that stuff at least. And databases are great to be able to insert things in, but a write-only database is not really all that useful. So we have to be able to go in and see other things. So for example, we can Why did I get 4? So, for example, we can go in and we can search for a specific title of one of our documents. Right, so, well, that's kind of run on, hard to read. We'll add the pretty flag after it to tell us we want it in an easy to read format. This is a unique identifier. It's of type object ID. As you get into your lab, you'll find out you may have to install, I think you have to install do a pip install on a BSON package. It's in the lab. But we have an ID field, right? Here's our unique identifier that has to be unique among all records. We have the title, that's what we searched on. You know, here's the blog post or the description, the author. You know, it gives us this the URL and then the ability to do these tags. And then down at the bottom we have a number of likes. Okay, so we can actually put the data in, and that actually matches, surprisingly enough, that matches what we inserted to begin with. If we go far enough up here, I think. Yeah, so that matches everything that that we already had. So we can put data in, we can get it out reliably, and we can actually do an update on it. So this, by the way, is not going to work the first time because I'm too lazy to type it in. Huh. Oh, here we go. We're down at the bottom. So we can update a post. Let's say we don't like it being by tutorial point. Instead, we want to make it by somebody named new author. We'll make it by Isaac Newton. We'll make it by Newton. I don't remember how to spell Isaac. Okay, and now if we pull back up and look at it, you know, we can see it's by Newton. For an update, what you have to do is you have to get it a search field as the first field. And then if you want to change a specific field, you use this $set command. There are other commands like $push. So if your field is an array, like if by were an array, I shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, I'll leave this for you guys to work out. Yeah. I don't know if this will work or not, actually. Yeah. Okay, good. I had that as a string, so I couldn't. Yeah. Take note of that. That's going to help you out in your lab. But, you know, we can do different things to update it. Once we update it, the updates actually show. So when we're doing an update, this is the field you want to search for. This is the change you want to make. So this one set it to be, instead of being by tutorial point, it set it to be an array with one entry in it, Newton. All right, so we've kind of looked at our major database operations. You know, these are kind of simple. You'll do a little bit more complicated in your lab, and you will actually use the PyMongo interface in order to talk to MongoDB in the lab as well. So hopefully that will be kind of interesting. So we have about half an hour. So I want to talk a little bit about the whole MongoDB thing.